The museum security guard didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave." Now, the man he was addressing didn't argue. He didn't flinch, either. Just stood there, shoulders slightly curved. Forward, worn ball cap pulled low over his silver-gray eyebrows. His hands, weathered and slow, held a folded American flag against his chest, the same way someone might hold a fragile piece of their past. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. The silence around him said enough. Behind him, a few visitors glanced over. Some looked away quickly, not wanting to get involved. A couple of teenagers laughed under their breath, nudging each other, whispering the word. "Homeless." One of them pointed at the faded denim jacket the man wore, patches hanging loose, the stitching along the sleeves unraveling like an old story barely holding together. What none of them knew, what not even the guard seemed to know, was who he truly was, and what he'd already given up for the very floor they stood on. His name was Thomas Avery. Lieutenant Commander, retired. He had once piloted rescue missions through enemy fire, flying low through jungle heat so intense it burned paint off the tail of his bird. He'd left part of his hearing in Vietnam, left some of his closest friends there, too. His home life hadn't fared better. When he returned stateside, the war had followed him. The nightmares, the silence, the long, echoing spaces where conversation used to be. His wife had tried, for years. But even love has limits when trauma builds walls no one can climb. Now in his 70s, Thomas lived alone. No parade ever welcomed him home. No neighbor asked about the ribbons in the shadow box on his shelf. He came to the Navy Museum on the same day each year, July 4th, quietly, without a banner, without a camera, just to stand for a few minutes in front of one particular exhibit, the one on the second floor, the one with his photo in it. This year, though, they said he didn't belong. He hadn't paid for a ticket, they said. His jacket made other guests uncomfortable. They questioned whether he was loitering, but he said nothing. He turned slowly to leave, steps steady but slow, like a man carrying a memory too heavy to rush. But just as he passed the corner, the youngest security guard, a trainee, barely 20, paused, eyes narrowing as he looked toward a display case on the wall. His gaze shifted from the black and white photo inside to the old man walking away, his breath caught. He called out, loud, uncertain, "Wait." Every head turned. The older security guard scoffed. "What is it now?" But the trainee stepped forward, his voice cracking as he pointed. "That's him. That's him. That's the guy in the photo. Lieutenant Commander Avery. The museum has a whole write-up on him upstairs. He saved 37 men in one night." A silence fell over the room. Not awkward, reverent, heavy. The teenager who had laughed before suddenly looked at the floor. His laughter vanished like smoke and wind. Thomas stopped, slowly turned. But he didn't speak. He just looked at the photo, then at the people around him, and finally at the young man who had remembered that a staff member rushed in, whispering apologies, trying to take his hand. He refused, gently, quietly. He didn't need an apology, that he needed respect. And for that moment, he had it point one by one. The visitors began to clap. Not loudly, just enough to echo through the marble halls. One man stood and saluted. A woman wiped a tear to end a medal ceremony. No headlines, just silent honor, where it mattered most. Sometimes, the loudest salute is the one you never hear. He didn't come for recognition. He came to remember. Some heroes don't shout. They don't demand respect. They just wait, quietly, until the world remembers what it forgot. Let us never forget again. Comment where you're watching from. Honor a veteran you know. Subscribe for more true stories that remind us what dignity really looks like.